So this is the closing day of the 2015 Craft Beverage Expo, and we kept on mentioning wineries, craft spirits, craft beer, craft wine, and then there's also craft cider and craft mead. And I know a little bit about these. I've learned a lot more this week, that's for sure. It's Greg Hall, he's the founder of Virtue Farms Cidery, and Mike Faul, who has the Rabbit's Foot Meadery.
Right.
And you're representing the cider and the mead. You're up there on stage talking about the cider and the mead. Well, first of all, I mean, I think it might be good for some people watching. What actually defines a cider?
Well, cider is made with tree fruit. So usually, by law in the U.S., it's either pears or apples.
Okay.
Primarily apples. People are making cider with flavored ciders now with all sorts of stuff too. We stick to very traditional European style. So we are all, at Virtue, we're all apples.
So it's made from the tree fruit. Is it a type of beer of sorts? I mean, do some people say that, or is it, would you say it's...
It sometimes gets lumped in with beer because it's often served like beer, served draft like beer is. It's much closer to wine in how it's produced. You know, we get the apples, we squeeze the juice out, ferment that juice. Don't have to heat it up, don't have to brew it really. We just press it and ferment it, and then it's ready to go. We'll stick it in a barrel as well. So again, a little more like wine, sometimes even a bourbon barrel, and that'll give it some extra character too.
Cool. Yeah, you have a product that you age.
We have the Mitten, which we age in bourbon barrels from our neighbors down in Kentucky.
I gotta try
and yeah, it's in there for about 10 months, and then we blend it with some fresh cider and then also some fresh pressed apple juice for some back sweetening. And it turns out it's pretty good. Right now it's usually top 10 in the rate beer ratings of ciders. So we've won a few awards with it, and it's a lot of fun.
Cool. Now, mead. What defines a mead?
Well, everybody starts off by telling you how old mead really is, but it's really very new in the United States, right?
I should have said that.
So we started in 1995. There were only 4 other companies making mead in America. Today there's probably over 200. But mead technically is wine made from honey, right? We don't hurt the bees. We don't squeeze the honey out of the bees. We collect the honey from the beehives and we mix it with water and bring it down to a sugar level that's similar to where you might have juice from other fruits like grapes or even apples. Add yeast to it, ferment it just like you would wine, filter it, bottle it, or filter it and age it. You can put it in barrels. We've got meads that have been in barrels for 16 years. Right, so pick up flavor, color, character from the oak as well as just from the honey itself. And
but typically, how old is it?
well, typically meads are going to be anywhere from 2 or 3 months old when you first make them and start selling them.
There's some old ones.
Yeah, there's some really, really old ones in the world.
Those are pretty rare.
Yeah, well, we've got maybe 4 or 5 barrels of the 16-year-old that we have, and it's probably the oldest mead in the United States, if not the world, but I wouldn't want to say that.
These categories of cider and mead, why are they getting big now? Why do you all think?
I think it's the same thing Mike said, is that nobody was doing it before. You know, when I got into the business just 4 years ago, you could go into a better retailer in Chicago and they'd have 1,000 varieties of beer, they'd have 5,000 bottles of wine, 500 whiskeys, and 4 ciders on the shelf. There were more types of chewing gum or French onion dip than there were cider, and that just didn't make any sense at all. So really there was kind of a vacuum. And Americans have a love affair with the apple. Everybody understands the apple and has great wholesome feelings toward apples. So we didn't have to explain the whole apple bit to them. And the whole gluten-free thing isn't really a trend, it's a shift. When it's been growing 20 to 50% year over year in the food world for 12 years now, it's a shift. So it's not everybody, but I think what we're finding is especially the young adults, the 21 to 25, 28, 30, they are all putting cider in their portfolio of things they drink. And very much occasion-based drinkers. They drink based on what their friends are drinking, where they are, what they're eating, and cider fits in with some of those occasions pretty well.
And it's gluten-free.
And it's gluten-free.
So the importance of having cider and mead represented here at Craft Beverage Expo, they're emerging. Why is it important that they're here?
It's nice to have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
You know, for a long time, as a brewer, you know, I was involved in craft brewing back in the late 80s when it wasn't even craft brewing yet. It was micro brewing. And we didn't get a seat at the grown-ups table for a long time. And once it happened, you know, in the retail environment especially, that's when the growth came. And we're seeing that happening already in the cider world. And the big guys have all come up with their own ciders, and they're spending a good amount of money letting everybody know about the cider revolution. So we're happy to kind of ride their coattails for a change.
And then mead's in the same kind of category, right? You've got new alcohol drinkers who want something different. They don't want to drink the same things that their granddads were drinking, and they're more open to actually trying different things. So I want to try an apple honey cider, right? That's a sizer, that's a style of mead. Or I want to try a braggot, which is a beer made with honey. Right? Or I might just use those as a way to get to a regular standard mead, right? So just honey and water fermented together.
Well, this is great. It's great meeting you guys here at Craft Beverage Expo.
Thanks, Tom.
Learning more about cider and mead.